Hello, good afternoon if you're in the UK, and welcome wherever you are across the globe. You are here with Tony McClelland on the Tony McClelland Show, here every single week at the same time, speaking to you about all things social impact, justice and mobility. And all of you will know that I'm so passionate about anything criminal justice, specialist education and care. And today we are speaking about the Metropolitan Police Casey report, and I have a fabulous guest. So while we warm into me introducing my fabulous guest, if you are here joining me, then do come on and say hi, and I will make sure that I give you a shout out. Come on the comments and just let us know where you are watching from today. So today I have the fabulous Dr. Angela Herbert, who is here joining me on the Tony McClelland Show. Welcome.
Hello, Tony, and thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. And well, I think those people that have been watching, you know, I've got some regular people that come here every single week. They know me. So just, would you like to introduce yourself, Dr. Angela?
Okay, so Angela Herbert, I've worked in the criminal justice system in some form for about 39 years, voluntary and also for work in policy and also in prisons. My background in the main is education, and predominantly for those less likely to be involved in education and learning and creating opportunities, really. My company is IOTC Solutions, which is Inside Out Solutions. So making changes on the inside that affect the outside, and always solutions based. So the problem, absolutely, bringing a solution.
And that fits right into our theme of today, inside and out. But I want to say this fabulous lady is so modest, and you know, she's got her doctorate. She's just been honored with another doctorate. She has an MBE for all of the work that she's been doing over all of these years. And on top of that, you are an ordained minister.
I am indeed. Yes.
So I'm very blessed to have you join me here. And thank you for offering to share some of your wisdom with us today. And so let's get going. But let's say hi to a couple of people first. We've got Melody from Massachusetts. Thank you so much, Melody. We've got Lorna, who's here from the UK. Do get some of those questions ready. If you've got any thoughts, do get them ready too. We've also got Matt Allen from Sunderland. Thank you. Welcome, Matt. Thank you for joining us. And we've got Youngbo, who is from New York as well. I know there's a few other people that are watching. Maybe they're feeling shy. Maybe they might come with a question a little bit later on, Dr. Angela. But let's see how this will happen. And we've also got, who have we got? We've got Elaine Hughes, who's in the UK. Thank you so much. So let's get cracking. We've got the Casey report by Baroness Casey. And just a very quick synopsis for those that are not really fully aware. It's reviewing the services of the Metropolitan Police, who were in special measures. The Metropolitan Police serve London as a whole. Since then, there has been a new leadership team recruitment, and we have the new commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, QPM, and a new team who are leading from in the Metropolitan Police. Now, in light of, some very serious, horrendous cases that have taken place and examples within the Metropolitan Police, how they've served the community, whether they're victims or the community as a whole. This report has been commissioned and has been written by Baroness Casey and has just been published just over, nearly 2 weeks ago now. So we're not actually here to kind of scrutinize the report in any way. We are here to empower and encourage you as the community to get involved. Yeah? To get involved. We're going to talk about trust. We're going to highlight a few things out of that report. And we want to encourage you to look at how you can be involved locally in the community and even take the survey. Now, I have dropped the link for the survey and the Metropolitan Police turnaround plan in the comments. So please do take the opportunity to go there. It will take you just a few minutes. Put your thoughts down, because the turnaround plan is due to be completed very shortly, and the survey is open until the 21st of April. So don't say you didn't have a chance, because you do. So let's set the scene. In 1999, we had the Macpherson report, and that was because of what happened to the dear Stephen Lawrence, and as part of the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, the Macpherson inquiry, it was reported that the Metropolitan Police are institutionally racist. And I want to know kind of what's been happening for those 30 years. What hasn't happened? What should have been happening? Angela, let me come to you.
Well, I think one of the main things that Black communities in the main have been focused on is the notion of institutionalized racism and institutional systems of racism, etc., which was then repeated again in the Casey review. And again, there is that desire to have those words muted by the current leader. And for me, if I know that a duck is a duck, you don't have to call it a duck. I know it's a duck. Yeah. And so solutions focus for me is about, I'm aware of that, but what can I do to make a difference? What is the difference that we can make? Because we can be focused on something, and we can be focused on one thing and then not really create the space for change because we're so focused. And I think that's what happened with Macpherson. There were lots of recommendations with any report. In fact, there are lots of recommendations, but the idea is to implement recommendations, look back and see what worked, what didn't work. Can we make changes? And it's about really being honest with what we have and working with it. That's my view.
Yeah, definitely. And because I think that what's also highlighted is the fact that, what Baroness Casey highlights in this report is that the Metropolitan Police is actually made up of 82% white and 71% male.
Yeah.
And this is not representative of the people in London. And so it makes me start thinking as well, that when Macpherson made those recommendations, if, internally within the recruitment, that's not changing.
Yeah.
And then I know we're just talking about the race piece. There's misogyny and homophobia as well that was mentioned. But let's just stay with the race piece, and I'll say hi to some of those people that joined us as well.
Yeah.
The other things that have to be taken into consideration are, the Black people and ethnic minority groups, the way they feel about establishment.
Yeah.
That has changed over the years. There's been things like Brexit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Windrush, where people have been affected. The report that was written by Tony Sewell, the interview with Harry and Meghan, and what came out of that in relation to the monarchy. George Floyd, what has happened there, and the impact here, and the disproportionate number of Black people in the criminal justice system,
Yeah.
you know, COVID, etc. The list goes on. And I think with those things there, in terms of the race, it hasn't kept up. The police haven't kept up, and that's what I'm kind of feeling. I don't know if you've got any thoughts around that, Angela, but while you get your thoughts together, let me just say hi to a couple of other people. Is that okay? So let's say hi. We've got Dixie from the UK. Thank you so much, Dixie and Joseph, for joining us. We've got Yusuf. Welcome, Yusuf. Get some of those questions ready or your thoughts together. We've also got Matt saying hi to Elaine, but we've also got Rob Neal. Welcome, Rob, from Harrow. Thank you so much. I know that you've done some fabulous work as well in the race disparity. And we've also got Elaine. He's saying to connect, Donna Murray Turner to connect. And I've also got a LinkedIn user who I think is Paul Murray. And he's just saying, having a quick look in. You're welcome anytime. If you've got any thoughts, then do come back. But Dr. Angela, let's come back to you. You know, in relation to the race piece that I just mentioned, what are your thoughts?
So in relation to race and organizations, it's actually it's in society. So every point that you made, every institution, in actual fact, in healthcare, wherever you look, there is an element of racism. There is, and we'll call it that. In terms of recruiting more Black people to services, to police, we're focused on police, but this also impacts on prison and probation. It impacts on fires, any public service, really. But a point in Casey's review that is really poignant when we're looking at recruitment and retention of Black officers. 81% of Black officers face misconduct. And so it would be very difficult to go into an organization to work with in good faith, and then the chances are that you may be someone that will face that, and that could be a barrier to people going into the organization, but not one that I think should be insurmountable, because where there are numbers, there is strength. Where there is ethical and authentic leadership, there can be change. And so it's really a challenge to communities to say, right, we're going to go in and we're going to make a difference. But it's also about authentic and ethical leadership, where policies are implemented and where any diversion or deviation to that is addressed. There doesn't appear to be accountability, which is why things just keep rolling on, I believe.
But also, when you mentioned the word accountability, that also mentioned as well, Baroness Casey has mentioned that in terms of the processes for dealing with grievances or, objections, for example, can actually, it's going to make a change. So that's really, really important. One of the things that we do know, though, is that 500 up to 500 are being recruited every other month and going through a pass-out parade, which I've witnessed. You've been involved in as well, and you've been involved in some of that training too. So, and they talk as well about improved vetting at a very early stage. So these are some of the things that have actually been said are going to be happening there. I don't know. Did you want to say anything more on the recruitment piece?
I think the point in relation to vetting or any terms of accountability depends on who's doing it and who is accountable to who. So who's doing the vetting? I mean, currently, which is a bit of a sideline perhaps, where we're looking at where the Prime Minister is looking at sentencing. There's the debate about sentencing of sex offenders, where they have very low sentence. So it depends on who's doing it.
Well, I think part of that, part of that, Dr. Angela, is really about where does your loyalty lie? With the organisation, or with an individual, or where is that? And that says a lot for the accountability piece as well. So let's just bring in a couple of comments from a few others. So thank you for joining us, Montel, and thank you for your comments, Paul. And I believe this is Montel again. Yes, there is racism in society. However, if a shopkeeper is racist, you can use another shop. If a police officer was, they can demand you do anything they ask, or if you refuse, they can detain you or spray or taser you, hurt and potentially cause you serious harm. There is no equivalent in any other sector. It is for the bosses to protect the public. So, it's almost like in any other situation, you can build trust. But in the case of police, you've got to give trust. It's almost like you have to succumb to that trust.
There's a bit of an oxymoron, if I may, where the Peeling principles, the principles of policing, is policing by consent, and so it's kind of you've got to consent to policing as a service. But the comment is correct there. If you were flipping burgers and you weren't doing that correctly, you'd be out. But police have powers, and it's those powers that make the difference. They have the power to detain you, to remove your liberty, impact on your life. So it's so important that whoever has such powers operate authentically and are just.
And I think that there's a piece in there as well in this report that talks about, people being recruited and wanting to come into the police force for the right reasons. Not because they want to have that power and control, but because they want to serve the public, and reduce crime. So it's about and introducing those more rigorous and thorough checks very early. And also it talks about some of the checks that they're putting in place now for people that are in place there now too. So that's really interesting. So let's hear from Elaine. There's a massive systemic distrust between the Black community and Met Police, sus law, stop and search, evidence staging. Plenty of innocent Black men would have drugs planted in their cars. And I think some of that is about we've got to build this trust, because where do we go? Where do we go if we don't? Now, one of the things that Baroness Casey highlights is about the fact that because of the numbers, 82% white and 71% male, and if we don't do something about the recruitment piece, then it will take 30 years to reach gender balance, and it could take until 2061 to reach Black, Asian, and other ethnic community groups. Can you imagine that? Anyone that's listening now, we haven't got 30 years. It was 30 years from the McPherson inquiry. We haven't got another 30. We want to see this in our lifetime, So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts around that, Angela, before I bring in a couple more comments?
I think I'll go back to the point about the organization and how it treats its staff. And so bringing in new recruits and the influence that communities that are going in to support the training of those recruits, that's one thing. But there's the organization, the structure, who's within it. The report also talks about people being able to hide within the organization. But I think it's if the police are open in terms of listening to their staff internally now, start working within, with Black staff and other staff within the organization. The change has to happen within, and then people will want to join. But with those statistics, I think it's a challenge. One has to be brave enough and sufficiently committed to going in and facing whatever they have to face. Because my background in the prison service, there is like a continuation. The only difference is the uniform, and so really you do have to have a sense of strength, maintain your own moral code, because the organization where there is established staff, they'll have a way of doing things, and so newbies coming in.
Well, I think that's organizational culture, isn't it? And
absolutely.
It being embedded. And I think there's a wider piece as well in terms of whether it be the prison service and even the fire brigade. The local fire brigade came up recently that had some of the same kind of things. So it makes me really start thinking more broadly about establishment and some of these large public sector groups and the disadvantage around that. So let's just bring in some of these thoughts and comments here. So we've got Dixie-Ann. This is around sit within white fragility when it comes to having honest discussions around race. Disparity of how people of colour have been treated has been a direct barrier to the low participation and engagement, as trust has been historically broken. However, people of colour have to continue to challenge those barriers by being engaged in the process of policy change and develop critical thinking around how we reprogram those entrusted to protect us. I think you've got the right attitude there, and that is exactly what this is about. This is about how can we be the change that we need to see, and how can we be involved in some of those processes. And there are groups locally, boards that you can maybe be involved in, and hopefully you can reach out to Dr. Angela or myself, and we can direct you to see if there are any opportunities for engagement. But the first step is to look in this comment feed, and you will see the survey that is the first step for you to put your thoughts down on paper. Thank you so much, Dixie-Ann. And we've got Rob Neal, spot on, Doctor. It's all about power control, ultimately accountability. Yeah, who's holding them to account and who's holding them to account? And it comes back to loyalty again as well. If you're loyal to a particular person in the organization, then and it's so much easier for them to cover their tracks. So we've got in 2010, 5% of officers were black. In 2020, it was down to just under 1%. And what we need more positive stories, positive experiences of black and other minority groups within the police force, don't we?
And also the language used, if the commitment is clear and the language is clear, I think that more people would be more likely to get involved. Well, I'm involved, you're involved, and there are so many others because for me, my driver now, I've always been working within this space, but my big driver is my 2-year-old grandson. The very idea that my 2-year-old grandson might be stopped and searched while he's going about his business fills me with dread. I'm here to make a difference. And for other grandchildren, for other sons, and for other brothers, etc. And we can make that difference. I really believe. And there are so many people with different professions and skills as well that can come into this space, because being a police officer does not give you all of the knowledge and skills you need. We need to work together in order to make that difference.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'll tell you what my driver is. My predominant driver is the fact that 30 years ago, I was here. Same place, different case, same place. And, why are we here? And this is, so I'm still asking myself this question, but I'm also asking that, but knowing that I'm happy to help and do what I can to make a difference for the next generation. But I want to see change in my lifetime. And that's part of the reason.
So I do this all the time. I'm not going to sing, don't worry. But when I went to Sunday school, there was a song that said, Jesus bids us shine with a pure, clear light, like a little candle burning in the night. In this world of darkness, so we must shine, you in your small corner and I in mine. And so the idea is that we do something. It looks like the odds are stacked against us. You know, the report hasn't, you know, you change the date, information is pretty much the same in most institutions, but we can't lose heart. And in our small corner, that's right, we join hands in our small corner, a flame here and a flame there. And, you know, eventually we'll have a blaze. But we've got to know that there's always going to be, there have always been issues. There will always be issues. However, we can make a difference where we are. And as you said, Tony, it's about having hope. And if we don't have hope, then obviously nothing at all is going to change. But every little smidgen is something.
Because they want London safe. We want London safe. How can we work together to bring that? But one of the things that I've kind of really looked at over the time that I've been in this kind of space is that, especially when you're working with communities, you've really got to look out for who are the right people, who are the people of influence. And sometimes what happens is that, you know, you go for the people with the titles, the big titles. But actually, if you look a little bit deeper, it's the people that are in the communities. I can remember when I was working in the community one time and I was given an induction list of all these head teacher of this school and this person that runs the community centre, this person that's the chair of the residents. And it wasn't. It was the caretaker that was in the school. Yeah. It was the secretary of the Residents Association. It was one of the workers that was in the community centre. They were the people that I identified and established that without those people, if they don't want it to happen, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, you know, really look deep. And when you're looking for community involvement, look at those people that are really committed. We don't want, where we've talked about the police engaging in the police service because of power, we don't want the same thing happening with people in the community coming on board because of power, because power and ego doesn't get us anywhere. We'll be here 50 years later. Sorry, I'm getting a bit caught up there, but I've got some comments I want to be bringing in there.
Can I do a quick shout out? I want to give a quick shout out for officers that are really doing fantastic work across the country in London Met. There's some really brilliant officers, you know, brilliant people. So it's not all bad, which is why we can have hope in us.
Absolutely. And it's not about us fighting them because we need them to help us. If we are in a problem or a crime is being committed, who are we going to turn to? We need to do it together. And so I quite often position myself as an ally. I'm an ally. I want good for this side and that side. So how can we make it work? So let's just bring a couple of these comments back in. Who have we got? We've got, I think this is Paul. How can you build trust with an organisation that does not accept its failings? Where is the evidence that there is willingness to change anything? At this moment in time, this report is fresh, brand new, shiny, and there is new leadership. And as we've just talked about, hope. We have to have hope. If there is mechanisms in place for accountability, as Dr. Angela has just mentioned, you know, more robust. There are the report also talks about disbanding certain processes as well and certain units, doesn't it? So let's be hopeful and do our part really to make sure that this happens in the way. So shall I continue, Dr. Angela? Yes. With these comments. So Rob is saying that there are simply too many occasions when the police mark their own homework. Those closed processes are not accountable. Absolutely.
Can I just speak to that point? Hence the idea of those boards and how to access them being really important. I've raised this a few times. There are local scrutiny groups and you know, within borough command units, and we need to be there. Sometimes the gatekeepers are there and they're, you know, pushing from the inside, but we still have to make our way in. And that's what I do. I show up and interact, and that's the only way that we can do it. We've got to be at those boards. We've got to be there
with the right agenda. the joint agenda, not
Correct.
it's not one where you can pursue your own agenda. So let's so thank you so much, Rob. And we've got Melody. I believe we make a team out of the top respected activists, along with the top respected police. They will be able to address the issues with a full view of how. Thank you. So
transparency, so important. Let's see where the failings are. Let's fix it. Let's not just hide it.
But one of the things as well is when we're encouraging people to come forward and be involved, we have to, because there are certain elements of the community or certain parts of the community that are just so busy fighting.
Yeah.
And we should have to keep fighting. And sometimes you're fighting something that you don't need to fight because it's actually there. Mm-hmm. So let's be mindful of that and look at what the opportunities are, because we may not need to keep fighting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But work more.
I think that they're probably different. This is so vast, and there are different qualities required, different roles, different professionalisms, different bits that people can get involved in, I think, as well.
Thank you. So we've got Yusuf here, and I had the pleasure of meeting Yusuf very recently at one of the POP, and I know that you are one of the facilitators that has taken advantage of Dr. Angela's program that she's put in place. 2061. This projected date is likely to increase if trust and confidence is low. This will continue to be a barrier. Moreover, there is no point in focusing on recruitment just to satisfy targets when attrition is so egregiously bad, as well as promotion and development. Thank you so much. Well, we've talked already about internally. How can you deal with the community? Yeah. You need to deal with it internally first, then the community, because those officers are part of the community. That was one of the other things that was raised as well, that the officers, there's a large number that do not live in London. Mm-hmm. So if they don't live in London, they're not part of those communities.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anything on that before I move on?
Well, I think that, and it's the same. I was reading another report, which was not dissimilar, and it's the view that staff might have, that white staff may have of suspects and even their own colleagues, and so there's quite a lot of work to do, because if internally, if within the police service, there is bias, racism, then when they go to deliver their service, it won't stop at the door. It will continue. So if those views are happening internally, but I do still think that that recruitment needs to go forward. I think that it needs to happen at the same time, where you've got the recruitment and the address of those issues, and consistently measuring what's happening. Absolutely. What should it look like? And if it goes wrong, what are you going to do? But transparency is so important, and not behaving as if you know everything.
Well, we need to really,
unfortunately, that does happen within
look at the measuring and how it's going to be measured from now before it's put in place, as opposed to so we need to be more proactive about that rather than reactive. And that's really important. But as you were speaking, it was making me think about the recruitment now, even if that gets right. And I know that the L&D team are doing lots of work around this, and there's some facilitators on the comment chat as well. So respect to the work that you're doing. You're part of the community that are stepping forward. But it also means that it's going to be a few years before we see that difference and that change with the new recruits, providing they're going through the right process. But what's happening is, if they're being managed by some of the people that are, potentially not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then we need to make sure that it catches up and the timing is absolutely right, so that they're coming in and they're dealing with them at the same time. So prioritizing some of those is really, really key.
But one quick point in relation to the facilitation, in the main, the facilitators that IOTC Solutions have trained. we've looked back at the evaluation of officers before and after. So the experiences that officers are having with facilitators, the feedback is more positive, whereas maybe 6 months, a year ago, sometimes the feedback was really very negative, because you can't just bring people off the street to sit and say, here, do this, without having the skills to do that.
Absolutely.
And so we've got a professional group of individuals, and it's also about identifying our areas that we need to develop, and where we need to gain knowledge and understanding to support that process. What I am looking to do is an evaluation piece, whereby we can see what difference it makes. Because, okay, it's going to take many years to see what difference community involvement has made. But within borough command units, they will have those new officers who will be able to talk about their experience. So I've had feedback from communities. I know how they feel, and so this is how I want to police as an individual. And then what has those
absolutely, yeah,
been? Have their supervisors been supporting them, and has there been a difference? And just looking at those small, groups, and then perhaps rolling out those models of good practice.
Absolutely, and I think that that's really key, how it's going to be measured, because I know that the facilitation that I sat in on and observed, there was some really good feedback that was coming through from these new recruits, and I went through a process of feeding that back as well, and they did listen. How far that goes within the plans, I'm not clear, but they did actually listen. So I think it's step by step, but I'm hopeful that we're going in the right direction. And again, you're playing your part, I'm playing my part. There's a few people on the comment thread that are playing their part, and we need more people with the right agenda to get involved in this. So let's just have a look. So we've got someone saying, Lorna, I agree. One must first accept there is a problem. The thing about institutional racism is a definition. It can be seen or detected in processes and policies that disadvantage minority communities. How can anyone say this isn't evidence-based? Well, it's not just the racism. We misogyny has been mentioned, as well as homophobia. I know that we've kind of focused in on that particular area. Did you want to say anything? Time's kind of running.
Yeah, there's intersectionality as well. So if it's black, it's woman. If it's black, it could be sexuality. It could be anything. And for me, I'm not waiting for someone to call a duck a duck. I know it is, and I'm working to make a difference. If an organization, a leader, is brave enough to say what the thing is, I think trust will escalate very quickly. But it hasn't been accepted.
Well, how do you build trust? You build trust by consistently delivering to a standard of being reliable and
transparent.
Until people can see that internally, and it can be felt externally.
Yes.
So it's not just an overnight process of, Angela, will you trust me? Yes, I will trust you, Tony. No, it's not. It's you need to see evidence of what I'm doing, and I do, and it's that piece there, isn't it? So
absolutely.
So let's continue. Who else have we got who's commenting? I believe this is Montel. Montel is offering and saying, anyone in Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, or Cambridgeshire, to our panel. There you go. We need to authenticate that, but absolutely, let's just reach out and make some connections. Do your own due diligence.
Yes.
But, assuming that it's authentic. Thank you so much, Montel. Rob has said, Audrey Lord said it best, the master's tools will never dismantle the house. We need more open, transparent, and accountable processes where we can access, plug in, and contribute. Thank you so much, Rob. And I think that you would be fantastic if you were in the mix there as well, knowing some of the work that you have done. But I also mentioned about duty of candor as well, isn't it? Because it's about, we see cases of where, you know, people have gone missing and they're getting so much publicity, and then others, you know, people in the Black community thinking, well, actually, my person's been missing for a month, and like they're not even getting a look in. So we need to make sure that, you know, some of these things and communication is more timely as well. So we've got Elaine. Who have we got? We've got Anima, who says that she just popped on. Thank you. Yes, look out for the replay and drop your comments in there and fill out the survey. Who else have we got? We've got Amina, and I've been working in the Met, who's saying working in the Met for 14 years, had experiences of racism and misogyny, so wanted to raise these concerns, what I did when I worked in a specialist unit. I faced significant repercussions, such as being ostracized, ignored. There are colleagues such as myself who are passionate about wanting positive change. Thank you so much for sharing. I believe it's been picked up in the report as well. So that was Amina. Thank you so much, Amina, for contributing there. And who else have we got? We've got, remember that the Met also police people who travel into London, not just Londoners. It is our capital, so 50% of people in London are visitors. Absolutely. But the main point is that we haven't got enough officers living in London, which has been raised in the report. And so therefore it's not representative of London. And so you're not understanding of the communities in London and what the communities need. And Elaine saying it's a constant battle and the Black community are tired. We can't be the only ones championing for change. Yes, tired, but actually if we want to be safe, this is what is actually needed. So as we draw to a close, any kind of parting thoughts, Dr. Angela, before I kind of just bring this to a close now?
I think it's a collective. And you said at the beginning that I'm a minister, and Moses had his hands lifted by two helpers. If one person can't do it, we all need to lift together. The officer can also reach out to the community, because the community are the police and police are community, and individuals that are in the service should reach out and get support, because we need them to stay there and we need to support them in their efforts. But everyone else that's on, and I know there are a number of people on here that are doing good work, reach out to others. The more of us that are in this space, the more of us using our professionalism and our skills and expertise, etc., to support this, then there has got to be change. And like Tony, I too have hope. Thank you very much, Tony.
Yeah, no problem at all. And I think it really does come back to trust, doesn't it? Thank you so much, Amina, for sharing, as well as everybody else. It really comes back to hope and consistently delivering. That's what brings trust. And some of the things are about valuing others, being honest. The Met Commissioner, you know, talked about compassion, being more compassionate. And he made a statement which talks about, you know, that the standards you walk by are the standards you live by, or something to that effect. And I think that's really, really quite powerful. Working with integrity, reliability, and competence are really, really important. Being transparent, and I mentioned duty of candor as well. So these are some of the things that need to happen, but they can't do it if we're fighting them. You know, we've got to ease up a little bit, just work together so that we can make the London safe for all. And on that note, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's joined us. Just a very short discussion today, but really, really appreciate all your thoughts, messages. You know, if you want to read this 325-page document, good luck. See if you can get to the end of it. But actually, you know, it says an awful lot just in the foreword and the concluding thoughts right in the beginning. But on that note, I just want to say thank you to Melody, Lorna, Matt, Youngbo, Elaine, Dixie, Yusuf, Matt, Rob, Paul, again, and a few others. Who else have we got? Anima, who's going to watch it later, and Amina as well. And if anyone wants to find out locally, and Montel, locally, about what's going on in your area, reach out to Dr. Angela and I, and we will try and find the information for you. or redirect you to other places. But the first start is really just making sure that you complete the survey. And on that note, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Angela, for gracing us with your presence. You know, Easter, it feels like the resurrection of the Metropolitan Police here, you know, so let's be hopeful and let's just take a breath and, you know, move forward, recognize where we are and move forward. So I just want to say thank you so much and continue your great work.
Thank you, Tony.
Nice for. So I'll be here next week and with another topic, and I'll see you then. Bye for now. Thank you for spending time with me and my guest today on Critical Reflections with Your Critical Friend. Today, you got just a very small sprinkling of Tony's fairy dust. But if you'd like more, then do reach out. For speaking or hosting, it's TonyMcClelland.com. For social impact, social justice, or social mobility, check out our work at firstlifegroup.com. I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, feel encouraged, be inspired, be empowered, and make a difference. Bye for now.